Hey guys, in this video, I'll be comparing Ronnie Coleman from 1998 and Dorian Yates from 1993. These two guys are truly legends of the sport, so I thought it would be interesting to compare two of their best versions. Before the video starts, if you guys want to continue seeing content just like this, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. With that all being said, let's get into this video. The front double is a great shot for Ronnie. His massive arms, flaring lats, and tight midsection all create for an imposing upper body. His quads are massive too, showing great separation and condition. Dorian looks rather good as well, guys, considering that his arms were never really a strong point for him. Here, his biceps and triceps look full and developed, but underwhelming when comparing them to Ronnie's massive and freaky arms. He creates an amazing V-taper with better lat flare than Ronnie, and he has just as tight of a midsection. Dorian's quads aren't as good as Ronnie's as they do lack the size, but he does show fantastic condition and has the better overall calves. I'd probably lean towards Ronnie here as his crazy arms and legs present more wow factor, and he shows just as good of condition as Dorian. Here are two of the best front lat spreads of all time. Ronnie looks phenomenal with striations rippling through his chest and shoulders, a picturesque midsection relative to Ronnie, of course, huge defined arms, and large quads. Dorian doesn't have as good arms or legs, but he has the better set of lats. This second shot reveals Dorian's dry, grainy condition, which shows striations throughout the chest and shoulders and highlights his world-class lats. Although Ronnie does have the size advantage throughout the limbs and quite possibly the better and more defined midsection, Dorian presents a near-perfect package and fills out the pose to a T in the lat region. This one could go either way, however, Dorian has it where it matters, that being in the lat region, of course, so I'm going to give him an edge in this pose. The side chest pose is just insane for Ronnie. You can clearly see his shredded condition throughout the arms and chest and the side leg, as well as the mass and thickness he carries. Moreover, his chest and shoulders are striated to the max, and his midsection is flawless. There really is no chance that Dorian can defeat Ronnie in this shot, but for what it's worth, Dorian presents granite-like condition almost everywhere and has the better midsection. Ronnie is just too thick from the side though, and Dorian doesn't have the density throughout the arms or chest to really stack up against him in my opinion. The side tricep should be a blowout shot for Dorian, and honestly, to a certain extent it is. Dorian has one of the best presentations of all time in the side tricep pose, highlighting not only his outstanding tricep, but also his tight midsection and his calves, which unfortunately we cannot see his calves, but he would be winning in that aspect. You can notice the dry, granite-like condition of Dorian by looking at his side leg skin, which is something that Ronnie doesn't necessarily have as much of. Ronnie is presenting one of his best side triceps of all time in 1998, with the tricep itself being striated and his midsection is really in check. However, Dorian looks so much better overall. He beats Ronnie in the tricep, the midsection, and in the presentation, and Ronnie may have the better side leg in terms of size, but he isn't presenting himself as well as he could be. So here I would have Dorian winning. I know that whatever the outcome I have here will be controversial to someone, so I will try to do my best to discuss these back poses without really any bias. In the rear double, both men present two of the best backs of all time. Dorian's back does look like it has experienced a drought to a certain extent, as the condition is just that dry. His glutes and hamstrings are ripped and conditioned too, and those calves look tremendous. What also looks tremendous is the thickness of Ronnie Coleman's back. While he may not be as dry or conditioned in the back itself, Ronnie has sheer mass and density throughout the lower back and traps, and his arms and legs appear to be much more freaky than Dorian's in this shot. Personally, I would give the limbs to Ronnie and the back to Dorian. However, Dorian is slightly winning in his department while Ronnie slams the door in his. For that reason, I would probably be very, very slightly inclined to give Ronnie the slightest edge in the rear double, as his lower body and arms look much freakier than Dorian's. This Christmas tree pose shows you just how conditioned both men are. You can notice the density in Dorian's lower back and the sheer size of Ronnie's glutes too. Both men present insane levels of condition here, so it will be interesting to see how this will translate into the rear lat spread. Speaking of the rear lat spread, here it is, and this is going to be extremely and impossibly difficult to judge in my opinion. Dorian is immediately winning in the condition of the back because he is drier and you can see more detail and hardness throughout it. Ronnie does have a larger set of glutes and hamstrings, but is just slightly losing in the condition there. His back is thick, wide, and detailed as well, but lacks the same dryness that Dorian presents, which could be his downfall in this pose. Dorian just has some incredibly separated glutes and hamstrings. They're not as developed as Ronnie's in the muscularity aspect, but they are just insanely conditioned. And, his back itself is tremendously wide, dense, and detailed, and he virtually has no flaws, and his arms play absolutely zero role in this pose. I'd probably give this pose to Dorian due to the condition. However, I could see an argument being made for Ronnie, but personally, I do prefer Dorian in this shot. The ab and thigh isn't an overly impressive shot for either guy, however they both present a good developed midsection with great V-tapers. Looking at the quads, I'd probably have to give Ronnie the edge since they are massive and look more aesthetic than Dorian's. For the midsection, I'd probably go with Dorian since he has the better set of abs, genetically speaking, and flows better in this pose. Ronnie just isn't hitting the shot to my liking as he isn't displaying his midsection in the best of light. Dorian presents a better V-taper through superior posing. He has the better midsection but falls the slightest bit short in the quads, but regardless, I'm going to give him the advantage in this shot. Here's the last pose, the most muscular, and Ronnie really comes back strong for this last pose. His arms are ripped, his chest and shoulders are separated, and his quads show great condition, and most importantly, he has insane muscular density everywhere. Dorian does look a little bit uncomfortable in this pose, however, it is understandable, as they didn't judge this shot back then. He does display his trademark granite-like condition, and he is in drier condition than Ronnie, but he doesn't look as composed in this shot. Ronnie really just has him beat in almost every aspect, apart from maybe the midsection, but that's even debatable, as his entire upper body is filled with wow factor and pop. So guys, that about does it for this comparison. To summarize, I had this one ending in a 4-4 tie. The back shots, along with the front lat spread, could have really gone either way, and that could have changed the outcome of this comparison. Normally, I'd be able to tell you guys who I personally prefer, however, both guys were phenomenal, and I really just can't decide. Please let me know if you guys see the results differently or if you agree with the outcome of this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.